William Moore. You're watching Beyond the Tides of Bind. Thanks for joining me. I hope you're having a great day. Want to remind everyone there is one supplement that you need during this coronavirus outbreak pandemonium. One and only one supplement which is going to give you peace of mind and help you through this troubled time. And that is psyllium husk capsules. Because if you're running low on this, guaranteed you're going to want some of this because it's going to help stretch each roll. Anyway, I'm going to talk about coronavirus covert operation. Some of this I'm getting from Jon Rappoport. He is an investigative journalist, one of the top investigative journalists in the last 30 years, been nominated for a Pulitzer Prize. He is at the cutting edge. He cuts through all the fiction and provides people with the facts. He has ongoing coverage of the coronavirus epidemic. If you're not familiar with Jon Rappoport, I highly recommend that you go to his page and start reading Jon Rappoport's blog, No More Fake News. It will enlighten you. So, by its very nature, a covert op is meant to conceal its true goals and details and players, so it's no surprise we have unanswered questions. Rushing to supply all the answers in 5 minutes is a futile exercise. A covert op can be invented and planned from the get-go, or players seeing an event unfold can jump on board in midstream, take control, and use the event to launch an operation. I believe this is what has happened with the coronavirus outbreak. We have people jumping on board in midstream, taking control, and using the event to launch an operation. And that operation is the full frontal assault on the freedoms of every individual on the face of the earth. So a covert op has cover stories and false trails. These are standard in the intelligence business. So a cover story is designed to divert attention from what's actually going on. It's basically a false picture floated to obscure the truth. The intent is get people dividing into camps and arguing with each other about variations of the cover story, thus taking them further from the hidden facts and motives. In this case, the cover story would be a contagious virus jumped species in China and started harming and killing people. So, then the cover story is spread. People begin taking sides. The contagious coronavirus is a natural microbe. It's a leak from a biowar lab. It was weaponized in a lab and intentionally released. It's rather harmless for the most part. It's deadly. Its effects are somehow magnified by interacting with chemicals. Because people are dying, the virus must be the cause of people's deaths. So once people have divided into camps, the covert operators can twist several of the cover story variations, thus creating false trails down which people can travel without ever reaching an end. For example, a loose study might appear which proves the coronavirus is a bioweapon. If you read the study carefully, though, you'll realize the authors aren't claiming the virus has been weaponized. Further, the study authors are saying the virus has a peculiarity which might mean this or could mean that, or possibly implies something else. So the authors, they'll say might mean this, could mean that, possibly implies this. And there appear to be no other studies which confirm any of these findings. But within an hour of the study being published, 50,000 people on the web are circulating this proof of weaponization of this virus. In any so-called epidemic, you will see some ex-military or ex-intelligence spook appear out of nowhere. He appears out of nowhere with expert insider testimony about the virus. He knows it's a weapon, therefore it must be a weapon. Likewise, other authority figures will show up to capture audiences with unproven revelations about the bioweapon virus or leak of the virus from a lab or the theft of the virus. Their audience, having rejected conventional media and government authorities, is looking for alternative substitutes, and they'll get substitutes. Now, I agree with looking elsewhere that, and not believing conventional mainstream media or government authorities. I don't believe anyone in government. I don't believe Rand Paul. The guy was a turncoat and turned against his dad and supported Mitt Romney back in 2012. So I don't trust the man at all. Don't trust anyone in government. But the problem is when you're looking for alternatives, you need to be careful and you need to do some research. So notice that in all these insider pronouncements, whatever they are, there is a reinforcement of the basic idea that the virus is the cause of the epidemic. But remember, the virus is the basic cover story. Planners of a covert op want people to buy the basic cover any which way. To illustrate these points, imagine that in an area of forest 30 miles from a town, people discover a large patch of dead trees. Some have fallen over. Others, leafless and gray, are still standing. At first, no one takes action. Then it's obvious the patch is growing larger. More trees are falling down, more branches and leaves are drying up and dropping to the ground. The town newspaper, aided by the pronouncements from local officials, run a story about a fire. There was a fire in that part of the forest. It was so severe and hot, its effects are still being felt. Now, people are beginning to argue about the cause of the fire. It was a lightning hit. Someone set a blaze using a flammable liquid that burned at an exceptionally high temperature. Drug dealers fought with one another and burned up the drugs. A sinister creature, half animal, half human, rumored to live in the woods, set the fire. ET aliens set the blaze. Their small ship crashed and burned. The fire is the cover story. People are arguing about variations of the basic cover. Actually, 6 months ago, a town firm that secretly sells a dangerous and illegal pesticide, believing they were about to get busted, sent employees with drums of the poison into the forest to dump them. That's what happened, but the cover story is now so ingrained in minds, few people will consider there was no fire. There had to be a fire. After having researched and written about epidemic duds such as SARS, swine flu, Ebola, Zika, for many years, we need now to take a different approach. We need to ask more basic questions at every turn. If public health officials and governments announce an outbreak and a virus, ask, how did they discover the new virus? That's a reasonable inquiry. Did they really find and isolate a new virus? What procedures did they use for the job? Are those procedures accurate and valid? Did the scientists who rushed to the outbreak locale to take tissue samples, are these the CDC or World Health Organization virus hunters who always find a new virus, even if at the designated location, an industrial corporation is releasing torrents of polluted poison into the ground and the water? So, which leads to the next basic question. Assuming some harm is being visited on people, are there clear causes that have nothing to do with a virus, causes that would account for the profile of harm that has been announced? And if so, who would benefit from hiding these other clear causes by using the cover story of a virus? Corporations, governments, pharmaceutical companies? Who would benefit on the back end from the virus cover story? So, who would benefit on the back end from that virus cover story? Drug companies? Vaccine companies? So, ask, how many cases of the epidemic have been announced? How many deaths? Exactly how are these cases being identified and counted? What diagnostic tests are being done? Are the tests accurate and valid? Again, this is a reasonable inquiry. If the authorities are claiming a certain number of people are being harmed, I want to find out how these experts are coming to that conclusion. So I ask, and we need to ask, and Jon Rappoport asked, what is the list of symptoms being attributed to the epidemic illness? Are these symptoms so generalized they already fit large numbers of people without the claim that the cause is the new virus? For example, are typical flu-like symptoms, which apply to millions of people, suddenly being shifted over and counted as a case of the new epidemic? Which most likely in this case is happening. Ask, in all modern epidemics, are there common, long accepted medical tests and procedures which are arbitrary and unproven, which should be openly debated but aren't? Is the story of a virus used to hide corporate and government crimes? There are other questions to ask, but you get the idea. So, you need to hit the stress points of the cover story. Uh, you know, keep asking, looking, and answering. In asking and answering these questions, that yes, questionable procedures have been used in discovering the new virus in the first place, unworkable, dubious, and worthless tests have been used to diagnose and label patients with the epidemic disease. Cases are undoubtedly imported from traditional diseases in order to falsely inflate the number of cases in the epidemic. So you have people that have the flu, and that's imported from, the flu category to the coronavirus category. And then people are said to have the coronavirus and they don't. So, causes of illness other than the virus are present in an area where the epidemic started. The epidemic illness is a familiar generalized list of symptoms which are present in millions of people. So, you know, is the new epidemic, is it a con job? So if after stripping away the number of people claimed to be epidemic cases who most likely aren't, you find a true number of cases appears to be small, then there is no epidemic. So we don't know right now the numbers concerning the coronavirus. We have no idea what the true numbers are because governments, all they serve to do is lie, kill, and destroy. So they're going to lie to you, and especially if that lie will actually benefit them in their quest to control you. So, if a number of cases seem to be high, you need to look deeper into non-viral causes which are currently operating and influencing illnesses. Um, so, in 2003, there was another coronavirus epidemic, SARS. The symptoms were basic flu with, in some cases, acute respiratory problems. As Jon Rappoport has detailed, Frank Plummer, working for the World Health Organization, spoke frankly to the press, saying the numbers of SARS patients with the coronavirus was fewer and fewer. In fact, it was approaching zero. This obviously cut the legs out from under the claim that the SARS was a new disease caused by a new coronavirus. Where did SARS begin? Where was it first found? Guangdong, China. In their excellent book, Virus Mania, Tortzen Engelbrecht and Klaus Colleen explore non-virus cases of flu-like illness in that locale. They found causes. It turns out this area is one of the largest recyclers of e-waste. Guangdong, China is China's largest industrial area, extremely polluted. Garbage lies everywhere, above all high-tech waste. For $1.50 a day, locals disassemble computers, monitors, and printers with their bare hands, endangering both their own health and the environment. There, workers empty toner cartridges from laser printers the whole day long without protective masks, breathing in fine carbon dust. Others, mostly women and girls, dip circuit boards into baths of liquid lead to separate and collect the soldering materials with which the memory chips and processors are attached to the plates. Unprotected, they are exposed to toxic fumes, while the plastic plates are simply burned up. The chips and the processors are put in acid baths to extract their gold. Here as well, poisonous fumes are generated, and the unusable leftover acids are just dumped into the river. A lot of garbage is simply burned up or dumped onto rice fields. That's great to know. Irrigation facilities are into waterways. The bodies of water and groundwater around guys have become so contaminated that drinking water has to be brought in daily from other cities. A real cause of illness? No need for a virus except as a cover story. And that's all this is. The virus is a cover story, and you have to cut through all the fiction and the gobbledygook to get to the truth. And that's what we're going to continue to do, and we're going to continue to stand against the assault on the freedoms of every individual on the face of the earth. This is William Moore. Until next time, peace.
Breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking the law, breaking